The Kailasha Temple of the Ellora Caves is a monument rivaling in splendor and size the pyramids of Egypt. Carved from a single rock, it is the largest monolithic structure in the world and the crowning achievement of nearly a millennium of Indian rock-cut architecture. Even its incredibly complex and intricate design pale in front of the fact that it was not built by stacking hundreds of thousands of stone blocks on top of each other, but was all carved from the living bedrock, leaving no room for errors or mistakes. So mysterious is this temple that some speculate it could not have been built with human technology, while others suggest that its construction dates back not centuries, but thousands of years ago. In the 8th century CE, with the decline of Buddhism in India, a new Hindu dynasty from the west-central part of the subcontinent, the Rashtrakuta, built an empire that stretched over 1,000 miles, from the southern tip of the Deccan to the Himalayas. Under kings like Dantidurga, the founder of the dynasty, Krishna I and Govinda III, the Rashtrakuta created one of the largest empires to ever rule over the Indian subcontinent since the times of the Maurya Empire of Ashoka the Great, nearly a millennium before. It is not known why the Rashtrakuta kings chose Ellora, a site located far from the heart of their empire and of no strategic or political importance, for one of their greatest architectural achievements and construction projects, one that would take over 100,000 men and 18 years to complete. The Kailasha Temple is without a doubt the masterpiece of the Ellora Caves and the greatest monolithic rock-cut structure in the world. Its construction is generally attributed to the king Krishna I, who reigned from 756 to 773 CE, although very little is known about this temple's early history and construction. Carved out entirely from the living bedrock of the Deccan Plateau, the Kailasha Temple stands as an unparalleled feat of human genius and monolithic architecture. An estimated 250,000 to 500,000 tons of basalt had to be painstakingly removed to carve this gigantic temple, built as a representation of Mount Kailash, the abode of Shiva in the Himalayas. The temple architecture appears to be a combination of different North and South Indian styles, and includes a massive, almost pyramidal tower, representing the snow-capped peaks of Mount Kailash, abode of the god Shiva. The temple complex is entered through an unfinished monumental gateway, called a Gopura, decorated with gigantic sculptures. That leads into a spacious courtyard, also cut from the living rock, measuring an enormous 82 meters or 270 feet long by 46 meters or 150 feet wide, in the center of which stands the giant temple. The temple proper, which reaches a height of over 30 meters or 100 feet, is a massive two-story structure, consisting on the upper floor of a huge square pillared hall called a mandapa or pavilion, leading into the main linga sanctuary, above which rises a Dravidian-style shikara or tower. The roof of the mandapa pavilion is in the shape of a giant lotus, with 4 lion sculptures each pointing in a different cardinal direction. The temple tower rises in linear tiers, surrounded by smaller sanctuaries for different deities, and is surmounted by a huge monolithic dome. The interior of the mandapa is occupied by a vast pillared hall, carved like all the temple from the living bedrock itself. This dark hall has beautifully decorated pillars, and finely carved and polished the ceilings and floors, being all of one piece with the walls and pillars. At the far end of the hall opens the Linga shrine, containing a huge monolithic Shiva lingam, resting on a circular drum provided with a channel to drain the liquids poured onto it. Right outside, facing the mandapa and the Linga shrine, is a smaller pavilion, also cut from the living bedrock, containing a statue of the Nandi bull, the vehicle of Shiva. This small ornate pavilion has 4 doors oriented towards the cardinal directions, and is connected by means of a suspended rock bridge to the entrance gopura on the 2nd floor. All around the temple are rows of carvings depicting scenes from the great Hindu epics of the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, as well as huge sculptural panels portraying the main Hindu gods and a variety of mythological scenes. The temple itself stands on a huge monolithic plinth or platform, from which emerge rows of huge life-size elephant sculptures, which appear to be holding the whole structure aloft. To the left and right of the main temple are 2 tall, highly ornate pillars, shaped like obelisks. They would have once held lamps on top. Various stone bridges and covered passageways connected the different parts of the temple with the entrance gopura and the side galleries. Carved out of the same living rock of the cliff, these dark passageways are quite rough and unfinished, and seem to have served more of a functional than any ceremonial or aesthetic purpose. In comparison, the side galleries are far more elaborately carved and lead into large prayer halls that are also richly decorated with pillars and sculptural panels. The Kailash Temple may be rightfully considered as the crowning achievement of Indian rock-cut architecture, and possibly the greatest monolithic structure in the world. Even today, it is hard to imagine how many thousands of men and how many years would have been spent for its construction. Evidence shows that the temple was carved from the top down, by first creating a giant trench around a single stone block, from which all the different parts of the temple were carved. Nearby Cave 30 provides important hints as to the techniques and methods by which the temple was carved. Cave 30 is an unfinished Hindu temple, also known as Chota Kailash or Little Kailash, for its resemblance to the Great Kailash Temple. This cave was built probably a century or two later, and appears to be but a crude and unfinished imitation of its predecessor. It is nevertheless interesting, for it shows how the rock was removed by excavating downward until only a single megalithic block remained. Huge square or rectangular lumps of rock were removed, perhaps with the use of wedges or fire, a technique that was also clearly applied for excavating nearby Cave 31, another abandoned excavation. These far smaller and cruder excavations, in their unfinished state, show just how exceptional the Kailash Temple is among all Indian rock-cut architectures, both in size and sculptural decoration. An estimated 250,000 to 500,000 tons of basalt had to be removed from the sloping rock face to create this marvel of monolithic architecture from a single stone block 82 meters long by 46 meters wide. Even taking the lower figure of 250,000 tons for the total volume of rock removed, this is equivalent to an astonishing 4 tons an hour for 18 years. And this is without considering the numerous side temples and shrines built on the sides of the same gigantic trench. According to a popular medieval Marathi legend, the temple was built in a week's time with the help of the god Shiva. A local queen prayed the god Shiva to restore the king's health, promising to construct a grand temple if her wish was granted, and to fast until the temple was completed. Worried about his queen, the king, whose health had been restored, called all the best architects in the realm, but all considered the task impossible. Only one architect, by the name of Kailasa, took the challenge, and with the help of Shiva was able to finish the temple within a week by carving a giant rock, thus releasing the queen from her fast. According to another popular legend, the Mughal king Aurangzeb vainly attempted to destroy the Kailash temple in the 17th century. 1,000 men attacked the temple with fire and pickaxes for 3 years, but could only do minimal damage to the structure and to its sculptures. If 1,000 men could not leave but the faintest scars on the temple's walls, we may only speculate at what tools were used to carve and sculpture this gigantic structure from the most untreatable basalt in such elegant and delicate forms. No evidence of the tools used has been found, yet it is obvious that even the hardest bronze and iron tools would have quickly worn out and be consistently replaced. If stone tools were used, where are the hammers and pounders that one would expect to find by the thousands or tens of thousands all over the site? And this is not to speak of what is perhaps the greatest mystery of all. What happened to the hundreds of thousands of tons of basalt that were removed for carving these wonders and hollowing out these gigantic caves from the living rock? If a volume of stone equivalent to the pyramid of Menkaure at Giza was removed for the construction of the Kailasha Temple alone, Where did all that stone go? Certainly, such a gigantic pile would not have gone unnoticed. Yet, it is as if over 250,000 tons of rock, and this is only including the Kailasha Temple alone, simply vanished into thin air. The construction of this veritable wonder of the world is generally attributed to the 8th century Rashtrakuta king Krishna I, who reigned between 756 and 773 CE. Yet in spite of all the profusion of carvings and decorations, the temple is almost entirely devoid of inscriptions that may shed some light on the great mystery of its age. The temple, combining so many different architectural and sculptural styles, in addition to its immense size, has led many historians to believe that its construction spanned the reign of more than one king, each expanding the temple and adding their own carvings and decorations. Yet it is strange that no king would seemingly claim credit for the construction or completion of what is arguably one of the greatest structures ever built in the whole thousands-years-old history of India. Just like the pyramids of Egypt, this great monument lacks inscriptions that could point to the identity of its builders, but stands instead as a silent witness to the advanced science of a long-lost and bygone age.